Okay, so this is just a very brief video to help show anyone that's like myself, not technical with wiring and really not comfortable with it and not totally sure how to do it, referring to wiring a toggle switch, which you see I have there, just a regular light switch from a house for your Derby car. And I thought now would be a good time to make this video because I have fully tested it twice. The last time the Derby, it torrential downpoured for about 30 minutes, if not more, before the Derby. I was in the car waiting to go, so it just got dumped on and it worked beautifully the whole time. And one last thing, if you have any better way of doing this or maybe better video, please post in comments. This video is meant to be, helpful. I'm not a Derby master, if you will, or a toggle switch master, as my channel suggests. I am a Derby noob. We are piecing it together as we go, but we're starting to get some things. So just real quick, I use an M&M Boys Derby Tank Universe one, so I use the stock fuel cell. That's what that is there, just sitting in and bolting down. And I also use the stock wiring, which you see there, I'm pointing to, plugging in. Typically, I run it right from the wiring that runs back the car. This car had a problem with that wiring, and I've been told it's smart to get it off the fuse box and directly wire it to a toggle switch. So this is how I did it. I used, again, not only the fuel cell from the stock car, but also the wiring. Now, I'm not sure if it's universal. Let me get my light here to shine a little bit of light. But you can see, there we go. It had these two middle wires. This is, again, the stock wiring to plug into the fuel cell that then plugs in under the car. Well, I'm no longer plugging in under the car. I'm running the positive, which was the wire all the way in the end, and the negative, which is this one. The negative I ran directly to my battery. So here is, I run U-clamps up front in the motor, and then I run, you can see right there is the one just from AutoZone battery lines. I run them over. I use U-bolt clamp there because I needed to have two of them tied together. And then here is the end that has the part that goes on to the battery terminal. All I did, and I should have pulled this off. In fact, there you can see it. So all I did, let me pause and show a better view. Alright, so here is the positive terminal, but it's the same hookup for both the positive and negative terminal. Again, this is the battery line that's running from up there. I just took the 16 gauge wiring is what I used, and I just attached to, this is kind of a more open clamp. I also had the 16 gauge, just bought it at AutoZone 2. I did have the box, but I don't know where that is either. And I just ran the wires in, crimped it, and then taped it super well. And then I put it right over the, there we go, the terminal hookup, and then bolted, kind of hard to do with one hand, the bolt right below there, bolted on, it sets on, had a good connection the whole time. So that was the positive. Same thing for the negative. Now what I did with the negative, again, I ran straight from here, my stock hookup, to the negative terminal. Same thing. Crimped it on there, taped it up good, put it on there, bolt on. I always tape my terminals for the Derby, and this one's still fresh, so that's why it's like that. The positive, the first time I ran my car, I had the positive same way, run straight to the terminal, or I'm sorry, ran straight to the switch and hooked it up, but I actually had it hooked up down here, and the guys told me, hey, that toggle switch needs to be elevated so we can quickly get to it on the dash. I'm like, oh, good point. So for the second Derby, I just, again, 16 gauge wiring, so I took the positive line to this 16 gauge line, which then ran up to, again, just my basic switch here, focusing a little bit, just has the two gold side screws here, and then over here you just have the ground. Now the ground, I was told there's different ways to do it. How I did it is, just to be safe, I ran just, again, 16 gauge wire from here. Again, just bought the clamps here. I'm not sure what they're called. Shows my knowledge here. Spliced it together, taped it up good, and just kind of made a ground. I don't think you need that, but that's how I did it. But my positive, so the negative goes straight to the negative terminal. The positive, because I needed to get all the way up here to the dash, and then I just ran another 16 gauge line on the bottom screw down to my positive terminal. I had to extend that positive line, and I just took, again, a wire connector. Again, my terminology is awful because I'm not knowledgeable of this. Show you how easy it is. And I just crimped those two wires together, you know, made a good contact, tightened down the little plastic. I don't have any in front of me. At the end of the video here, I'll get all the pieces that I used together in case you're curious. And again, taped it really good, and then I ran it up to this. So I have the positive here. I have the 16 gauge line here in the bottom that's going to the battery. Again, that positive goes to where it's connected right there, which then goes all the way back here. So as soon as I've got my terminals positive and negative on the battery, flip the switch, it's got power. You can hear it turn on. So it was that simple. It worked great. Again, that's just a 120 volt switch. The reason I was told it's best to use those and not like a toggle switch, which I originally bought from AutoZone, is those guys, they get damp, they get wet, they're much less likely to short out or have an issue with them. So again, I don't know if this is the easiest or best way, but I just wanted to make a quick video to show it is that simple. I was terrified to do it. It's no longer on the fuse box, which I actually was taken out of a Derby last year because it popped the fuse, which went to my starter, killed the fuel pump, killed the car. I was sitting there dead, even though the whole car was, I mean, it was like 40 seconds in. It was pretty sad. So again, stock fuel cell, stock wiring. My negative was on the far left, my positive was the far right. I don't know if that's universal. Negative, I ran straight to the battery terminal. Just made sure I had a good crimp and connection, and then taped it super well. And then the positive, I ran as far as I could, and then I, again, 16 gauge wiring, connected it. Got a wire cap there real tight, taped it good. Goes up to the switcher. I believe these can be either or. I don't think it matters, but I had my positive on the top, and then on the bottom is the one that's running to the positive terminal for the battery. I had a ground on the switch. I don't know, you have to. And again, put the terminals on, flip the switch, you can hear it hum, and you're good to go. So hope that helps someone. I was terrified to do it, but it really is that simple. So in order to do this, how I had it set up, I have this at the beginning of the video. I mentioned in the video, I'm not sure what the names are, so I just figured I'd put it at the beginning. Again, I use these 3/8 terminal rings to attach to the battery, and it says they're 12 to 10 gauge, but I used it on 16 gauge wiring. It was fine. Waterproof, again, terminals 16 to 14 gauge. That's what I used. Get it to focus for that. This is just 16 gauge wiring. Electrical tape, tape those babies up. Here's the wire cap, get them good and tight where I connected my positive and negative. And then this was the toggle switch I originally bought at AutoZone and ran. It worked fine the first Derby I ran it, but like some guys said, if this gets wet, it seems like it's potentially more likely to perhaps short out. The 120 volt simple electric outlet switch is probably your best bet. So that's everything I used. I think I'll stick this at the end of the video. Hope it helps someone.